Penguin Random House Audio presents They All Came to Barneys, A Personal History of the World's Greatest Store, by Gene Pressman. Narrated by Jordan Renzo and the author.
This book is for Fred Pressman, who raised me at home and at Barneys. Intro. We made shit happen. They all came to Barneys during the greatest, most exciting years in the world's greatest, most exciting city. It was the world's greatest, most exciting store. On any given day, you might see Susan Sontag getting her hair touched up in the downstairs salon, or Warren Beatty and Donald Sutherland buying Armani tuxes in the gray room on the second floor. Warhol would swing by for parties, multi-floor fashion shows where the models might be Madonna or your future wife. Mine was. She kid, Warhol would ask. He called me the Pressman kid. Could I have a discount? I hated when people would ask me that, but he was famously cheap, and he'd appear in one of our ad campaigns, so sure. Men would bring their wives and their girlfriends, sometimes on the same day. We shut the store down for Elizabeth Taylor, for Michael Jackson, and for the Sultan of Brunei, who came with 2 busloads of wives and attendants and 3 body doubles, though not a soul was there but them. While the old department stores were gathering dust on Fifth Avenue, the action was all downtown. Everyone shopped at Barneys, the glamorous and the difficult, the young and the old, celebrities and celebrities in their own minds, and our salespeople, many of whom thought they were celebrities too. Barneys wasn't a store, or not just. Yes, we sold suits, millions of them. Yes, we grew to incorporate clothes and bags and shoes and makeup and skincare and gifts for the home. Things you'd see there first and only. Armani before Armani was Armani, before the $2 billion global business and the one-name status. When we found him, he was a handsome guy called Giorgio with a rinky-dink office in Milan. Fornasetti, his illustrated faces beaming like the Mona Lisa off of Italian china. Isaiah, the hottest young designer in 80s New York, who would saunter in and sell his stuff to delighted ladies right off the rack. More Japanese fashion than you could find anywhere outside of Tokyo. Geniuses like Yohji Yamamoto and Rei Kawakubo doing basic black before basic black was the official color of New York. It was a destination, an all-day, into the night entertainment, with a restaurant for mid-splurge sustenance. You'd run into friends, you'd run into exes, you'd run into enemies. Which was the most fun? This is a story of Barneys. My business, my birthright. It's about the store that obsessed and defined 3 generations of the Pressman family. From my grandfather Barney, who founded it, to my father Fred, who expanded it, to me and my brother, who modernized it. We grew up with the store, and the store grew up with us. A downtown discounter that birthed a dynasty. It's a story about our family, who began as fledgling strivers on the Lower East Side and made our way to Park Avenue prosperity. A 20th century journey as American as Apple Blintz, and it's a story of New York as it grew to become the center of the universe, the most influential city in the most powerful nation on earth. It's my story of life at the heart of it all, as the doldrums of the post-war 50s gave way to the electric abandon of the rock and roll 60s, the party-mad 70s, the gold-plated 80s, and the hang-on 90s, the city during one of its most fertile and frantic eras. New York was the epicenter of the emergence of casual sex, drugs, and delirious disco, the burgeoning gay rights movement, punk rock and the new wave, gentrification and greed in the Wall Street boom. I was the luckiest person on the planet, born with a front row seat to history, and I didn't waste a minute of it. But I never meant to be there at all. The best stores have always been more than stores. Their ambitions have always been bigger, their tactics grander. There are circuses and arcades and amusement parks. They can be meat markets and set pieces for meat cutes, pickup joints par excellence. Salespeople hitting on customers, customers hitting on salespeople, customers hitting on each other. There have been Barneys marriages, and, I'm sure, more than a few Barneys divorces. The fashion business has always been perceived as frivolous, a world of models and playboys, gay men and ladies who lunch. But it's showbiz. It's no accident that the guy who founded the National Association of Window Trimmers, the people that decorate shop windows, also created The Wizard of Oz. From the dawn of the modern department store in the early 20th century, when Turkish bazaars, running fountains, and live birds enticed women in, to so-called omni-channel retailtainment and every other bullshit new coinage the so-called marketing geniuses invented today, it's always been the same. At Siegel Cooper, the now mostly forgotten turn of the 20th century big store, it included a bank, a barbershop, a post office, and its own orchestra that stretched from 18th to 19th Street on 6th Avenue. Harry Siegel installed a searchlight on the building to project his advertising onto the clouds. For the record, Barneys was always a specialty store. I hate when people call it a department store. It's an education business, too. You're exposing people to amazing things from all over the world that they might never experience otherwise, hoping to raise the bar. If you do it right, you elevate your customer and elevate the product, and you can power the creation of a whole new industry. The stores of New York helped to build the American fashion business as we know it, a homegrown alternative to Paris couture that began by knocking it off and then grew into its own competitor, younger, cooler, more carefree. The stores were the tip of the spear of style, the wellspring from which the magazines drew and whose message they spread. The ambition of Vogue, wrote Edna Woolman Chase, who became its editor in 1914, was to show the woman in the rest of the U.S. what the New York stores, dressmakers and milliners were offering and what the smart women of New York were buying. The 20th century birthed a complete revolution in the business of clothes, an explosion of both creativity and commerce. These things just didn't happen. You need visionaries to smell the change, find the innovators, teach and tempt new customers. It was a local and then a global mission, manifest destiny in a miniskirt. The stores, and most of all Barneys, were there. I'm getting ahead of myself. It would be a long time, over 50 years, before women were shopping at Barneys, at least for themselves. Women are, and always have been, major purchasers of menswear for their husbands, sons, and boyfriends, though even early on, savvy women also knew that the best deals for themselves could be found in Barneys' boys' department. Barneys, in its original iteration, was for men and by a man, and that man was Barney. He crowned himself the cut-rate king, dealt suits at a discount in the days when men wore nothing else, and bragged that there was nobody and no body he couldn't fit. He kept an army of tailors across the street and offered free alterations. He also offered free parking, one of the many secrets to his success. Even without the birds and fountains of the earlier stores, Barney figured out how to get his name out into the world. He was an advertising pioneer, buying up radio airtime until the store was one of the biggest advertisers in the New York market. And it was a little bit of tabloid genius on his part to run them during the
Sample complete. Ready to continue?